All right, so are you ready to dive into something totally different today?
Always. Hit me with it.
Okay, so we're looking at this super interesting project that kind of blends DIY, YouTube, and get this, medieval homesteading.
Whoa, okay, that's a combo I haven't heard before.
Right, we're going to be checking out these two YouTube videos from a channel called BarndoVilla.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah, so the creators, Ryan and his wife,
Huh.
are basically transforming their barn in the Ozarks. But it's not just like any old renovation.
Let me guess, it's not just slapping on some fresh paint.
You got it. They're constructing like a full-on medieval-themed set inside the Barndominium.
No way. Inside. That's wild. I mean, you usually see these kinds of things outside, right? Like a Renaissance fair type of thing.
Exactly. But they're bringing the medieval world indoors.
That is seriously ambitious. Do we know what it looks like?
Yeah, they actually have like a rendering of what they're planning.
Oh, cool. Like a blueprint or a 3D model?
Yeah, something like that. And it's incredible. All the details are there. Rough wood, exposed beams, stonework. I'm getting major Game of Thrones vibes just thinking about it.
Oh, wow. That's got to be some serious craftsmanship. I can't even imagine the work that goes into something like that.
I know, right? It's mind-blowing.
Mhm.
But what I find even more fascinating is the why behind it all. Like, what are they hoping to achieve with this medieval masterpiece?
Good point. It's got to be more than just looking cool, right?
Exactly. So
Mhm.
spill the tea. What's the purpose of this build?
Well, from what I've gathered, it's going to be a multifunctional space.
Okay, I like where this is going.
They want to use it for filming their YouTube content, which makes sense. But here's the twist. They're also huge into LARPing.
LARPing. Wait, fill me in. I'm not really familiar with that.
LARPing stands for live action role playing. Basically, imagine playing Dungeons and Dragons, but in real life.
Whoa, so they actually dress up and act out these fantasy scenarios.
Yep, they create characters, wear costumes, and basically immerse themselves in this whole other world.
Okay, that actually sounds kind of fun.
It is. It's all about creativity, imagination, and just letting loose and having a good time.
So this set they're building, it's like the perfect backdrop for LARPing, right?
Absolutely. Having a dedicated space like this with all the medieval details takes it to a whole new level of awesome.
Yeah, it's like stepping right into a fantasy novel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the aesthetics either. They're also solving some practical filmmaking challenges.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about filming outdoors. The light's always changing, the weather's unpredictable.
Ugh, don't even get me started on wind noise. I tried filming a video in my backyard once, and it was a disaster.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get outside.
Mm-hmm.
But by building this set indoors, they're taking control of their filming environment.
That's so smart. No more battling the elements.
Right. Plus, they're planning to install mini split systems for climate control. You know those super efficient heating and cooling units?
Yeah, I've heard of those. They're supposed to be amazing.
They are. And they're also adding insulation so they can use the space year-round.
That's a game changer. They can film anytime,
Yeah.
regardless of the weather outside.
Exactly. And think about the sound quality they'll get inside. No more wind noise, no random lawnmowers ruining the shot.
It's like they're building their own little production studio, but way cooler than your typical white-walled soundstage.
A medieval production studio. Now that's something you don't see every day. And here's another cool detail. They're making the beams load-bearing so they can hang lights and equipment.
Oh, wow. That's thinking ahead. It shows they're really serious about maximizing the functionality of the space.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's safe to say they've put a lot of thought and planning into this project.
It definitely sounds like it. So walk me through the building process. How are they bringing this medieval vision to life?
Well, the first step, of course, is prepping the wall.
Okay, so what does that involve?
They're basically creating a blank canvas, which means ripping out old shelving and fake brick.
Sounds like a good demo day.
Definitely. Lots of dust and debris flying around, I bet.
So once the wall is prepped, what happens next?
Then they move on to the cedar boards, which are going to be like the stars of the show.
Okay, the cedar boards. Got it.
And they're using some really cool techniques to give them that aged, authentic look.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about how they're achieving that effect.
Well, they're staining and burning the boards, but it's not just slapping on some stain. They're layering different colors and like experimenting with techniques to create texture and depth.
Whoa, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
Like they're treating each board as a work of art.
Pretty much. They even talked about the challenges of getting the burn just right, which shows their attention to detail.
I bet that takes some serious skill and patience.
Oh, absolutely. It's not easy to achieve that kind of weathered look. So yeah, it's a real testament to their craftsmanship.
Right, so we've got the stained and burned boards. What comes next?
Well, The next step is building the fake trusses.
Fake trust.
Yeah, they call them beams in the video. They're basically using 2x6 lumber and reinforcing them to make sure they can hold the weight of the lights and all the other equipment.
Smart move. Safety first.
Right. And then after the beams, they're adding cobblestone detail underneath.
Cobblestone. That's such a cool touch. It's all about the layers, isn't it?
Exactly. It's going to add another layer of texture and visual interest. And get this, Ryan's wife, Tara, has some awesome ideas for the door.
Ooh, I'm dying to know what she's got planned. It sounds like a real collaborative effort.
It totally is.
Yeah.
Their friends Jason and Tara from White Rock Homestead are helping with the build, and later in the video, their friends Eric and Jenny arrive from Wisconsin to lend a hand.
That's so great. It's amazing how this project is bringing people together.
It really shows the power of community, both online and offline. And Ryan actually makes a point of thanking their YouTube subscribers for their support.
Oh, that's nice. It's easy to forget that behind every successful YouTube channel, there's a whole community of people who believe in the creator's vision.
Totally. And their support is what makes these ambitious projects possible.
So it's not just about the medieval walls and the YouTube fame. They've got a whole homestead to manage too, right?
Oh, yeah, they've got a lot going on. And it's not always easy keeping up with everything.
Okay, spill the tea. What kind of homesteading challenges are they facing alongside this epic build?
Well, for starters, they were battling a leaky roof in their son Link's room.
A leaky roof.
Oh. And it wasn't just a simple fix either. They were trying to track down that leak for 8 months.
8 months, I would have lost it. Did they ever figure out what was causing it?
They did, finally. Turns out it was a pretty complicated issue, but they were determined to find the root cause. You know, they're not the type to give up easily.
That's for sure. They're definitely persistent, and it's a good reminder that sometimes you got to dig deep and really persevere to find the best solution.
Absolutely. And speaking of persistence, they're also in the process of expanding their chicken fence. And get this, they call their garden the Chaos Garden.
Chaos Garden. That sounds interesting.
It's very fitting. It's basically a constant dance of trying to keep things under control while nature does its thing. They're dealing with weeds, pests, unpredictable weather. It's a lot to manage.
I can only imagine, especially while they're working on this massive build. But hey, it sounds like they're embracing the chaos and making it work.
Oh yeah, they're rolling with the punches, and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty either. In fact, they just got a new meat slicer, a generous donation from a subscriber, and they're super excited to start processing their own meat this winter.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
It's so cool how their community comes through for them.
It really is. And speaking of winter, what else are they doing to get ready for the colder months?
They're doing a lot to prep. They're burning out their stove, which is basically cleaning and prepping it for winter, and they're starting to transition their garden for the colder months.
It sounds like they've got a lot on their plate, but it's inspiring to see how they balance it all.
They make it look easy, but I'm sure it's a lot of hard work.
Definitely. And they do it all while creating amazing content for their YouTube channel. Oh, and speaking of their content, did you catch that original song in the second video? It's beautiful.
I did. And it's not just background music either. The lyrics are really powerful. What kind of themes does it explore?
It's all about finding peace amidst the storm, you know? Picking up the pieces and letting go of what no longer serves you. There's this sense of resilience and hopefulness that really shines through.
It's like they're processing their experiences through music, finding meaning in all the ups and downs of homestead life.
Exactly. And they're sharing that journey with their audience and inviting us to connect with those themes on a personal level.
It's a beautiful thing. Okay, but let's circle back to the build for a sec. We've talked about their techniques, but I'm curious about their philosophy. What do you think drives their approach to this project?
That's a good question. I think it's a combination of practicality and a deep sense of playfulness.
Playfulness.
Yeah, like they're not afraid to experiment, to try new things, to make mistakes even. It's about the process as much as the outcome. They're having fun with it.
I can definitely see that. They're clearly passionate about what they're doing.
Absolutely. And that passion is contagious. It makes you want to grab a hammer and start building something yourself.
I know, right? It's inspiring. What else struck you about their approach?
One thing that stood out to me was their willingness to share their knowledge and experience with others. They're not just showing off, they're inviting viewers to learn alongside them.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And they're not afraid to be vulnerable either. They show their struggles as well as their triumphs.
Right. It makes them relatable, human, which is refreshing, you know, especially in the often polished world of YouTube.
It's a good reminder that behind every successful project, there's a lot of hard work, dedication, and a willingness to embrace the messy, unpredictable nature of the creative process.
Totally. And they do a great job of balancing that seriousness with a healthy dose of humor.
Oh yeah, they're hilarious. Remember when Ryan was trying to film and that rooster wouldn't stop crowing in the background?
Oh my gosh, yes. That was classic. A true homestead moment.
It was a good reminder not to take ourselves too seriously, even when we're tackling big projects.
Exactly. There's always room for laughter, even amidst the chaos.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways that we can apply to our own lives?
Well, for starters, I think we can all learn from their willingness to experiment. They're not afraid to try new things, make mistakes, and figure things out as they go along.
It's a great reminder that we don't have to have all the answers up front. We can embrace the learning process and allow ourselves to be beginners.
Right. Absolutely. And when setbacks inevitably happen, because they will, we can choose to see them as opportunities for growth rather than failures.
Ooh, I like that. So instead of getting discouraged, we can ask ourselves, what can I learn from this experience? How can I use this challenge to become more resilient?
Exactly. It's all about shifting our perspective and finding the good in every situation.
Those are some really valuable insights. And what about the importance of community? BarndoVilla's story really highlights the power of collaboration and support.
It definitely does. Whether it's friends, family, or online communities, having a network of people who share your passions can make all the difference.
It's so true. And it's a reminder that we don't have to do everything alone. It's okay to ask for help when you need it.
Exactly. And BarndoVilla is a perfect example of that. They wouldn't be where they are today without the support of their friends, family, and subscribers.
It's a testament to the power of community.
Oh,
And that support extends beyond just practical help too, right? It's about encouragement, inspiration, and a sense of belonging.
absolutely. And I think that's something we all crave, regardless of what we're passionate about.
Well said. But let's go back to that question of why. Why go through all this effort to create a medieval-themed set inside a Barndominium? It's a pretty unique and ambitious undertaking.
It's a great question. I think it goes beyond just having a cool space to film videos or host LARP events. It's about creating a world within a world, a space where their imaginations can run wild.
Ooh, I like that. It's like they're building their own little corner of escapism.
Exactly. And in a way, they're inviting their viewers to join them on that journey of self-discovery and creative expression.
It's a powerful message. It's like they're saying, hey, we might live in a modern world, but we can still create our own little pockets of magic.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it's a reminder that we don't have to be limited by our circumstances or our surroundings. We can create our own worlds, our own adventures, our own unique forms of expression.
I love that. But let's not get too carried away with the philosophical side of things.
Right. Back to the practical.
Exactly. We still have a lot to unpack about this build, and I'm dying to hear more about Tara's ideas for the door.
Okay, let's dive back into the details. They're using some pretty unconventional materials and techniques, and I think you'll be surprised by their ingenuity. So where were we? Ah, yes, they were talking about acquiring a new meat slicer.
Oh, yeah. It was donated by one of their subscribers.
Yep, and they seem pretty stoked about it, talking about processing their own meat this winter.
It's amazing how their YouTube community always comes through for them.
Seriously, it's like they've got this whole extended family cheering them on.
It's a beautiful thing. But hold on, you mentioned winter. What else are they doing to prepare for the colder months?
Well, they mentioned burning out their stove. It's this whole process of cleaning and prepping it for winter. Plus, they're starting to transition their garden for the colder months, getting it ready for the change in seasons.
It sounds like they've got a lot on their plate. Between the build, the homestead, and the YouTube channel, I don't know how they find the time for it all.
Right. They're definitely busy bees. But hey, they seem to thrive on it.
And speaking of thriving, we haven't even talked about the music yet. The second video features an original song that really caught my ear.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful piece of music. And the lyrics are super powerful, too. Like, they really connect to their journey in a meaningful way.
What kind of themes does the song explore?
Well, it's about finding peace amidst the storm. Picking up the pieces and letting go of what no longer serves you. There's this sense of resilience and hopefulness that really shines through.
It's like they're using music as a way to process their experiences and find meaning in all the chaos of homestead life.
Exactly. And by sharing that music with their audience, they're inviting us to connect with those themes on a personal level.
It reminds us that even in the midst of challenges and setbacks, there's always room for beauty and introspection.
Well said. Okay, But let's circle back to the build for a moment.
Right.
We've talked about the techniques they're using, but I'm curious about the underlying philosophy. What do you think drives their approach to this project?
That's a good question. It's like they're not just building a set, they're creating a world.
You hit the nail on the head. I think it's a combination of practicality and a deep sense of playfulness.
Playfulness.
Yeah. Like they're not afraid to experiment, to try new things, to make mistakes even. It's about the process as much as the outcome. They're having fun with it, and that really comes through in their videos.
I can definitely see that. They're clearly passionate about what they're doing, and that passion is contagious.
Absolutely. It makes you want to grab a hammer and start building something yourself.
I know, right? It's inspiring. What else struck you about their approach?
Well, one thing that stood out to me was their willingness to share their knowledge and experience with others. They're not just showing off, they're inviting viewers to learn alongside them.
That's so true. And they're not afraid to be vulnerable either. They show their struggles as well as their triumphs.
Right. It makes them relatable, human,
Yeah.
which is refreshing, especially in the often polished world of YouTube where everything seems so perfect.
It's a good reminder that behind every successful project, there's a lot of hard work, dedication, and a willingness to embrace the messy, unpredictable nature of the creative process.
Totally. And they do a great job of balancing that seriousness with a healthy dose of humor.
Oh yeah, they're hilarious. Remember when Ryan was trying to film and that rooster wouldn't stop crowing in the background?
Oh my gosh, yes. That was classic. A
Yeah.
true homestead moment.
It was a good reminder not to take ourselves too seriously, even when we're tackling big projects.
Exactly. There's always room for laughter, even amidst the chaos.
So true. Before we wrap up this deep dive into BarndoVilla's world, I kind of want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about finding peace amidst the chaos.
Oh, yeah. That's a theme that keeps coming up for sure.
It really does. I mean, they're juggling so much between the homestead and their YouTube channel. It seems like their lives are just constantly in motion.
It's true. They definitely have a lot going on, but what's interesting is that they're not trying to eliminate the chaos,
Right.
They seem to embrace it, almost like it fuels their creativity in a way.
That's such a cool perspective. It's like they're saying, hey, life is messy, things don't always go according to plan, and that's okay.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance, finding acceptance, even when things are crazy. And honestly, I think that's a really powerful message, especially in today's world.
Totally. I mean, in a world that's always pushing us to be more productive, more efficient, more perfect, it's so refreshing to see someone embracing the imperfections and finding joy in the simple things.
Right. Who cares if a rooster crashes your video shoot as long as you're having fun?
Exactly. It's a good reminder not to take ourselves too seriously.
Humor is so important. It helps us step back, gain some perspective, and realize that even the most frustrating situations can have a funny side.
Absolutely. So we've talked about the build the homestead, the music, the community, even the philosophical side of things. What are some key takeaways that our listeners can apply to their own lives?
That's a good question. Well, for starters, I think we can all learn a lot from BarndoVilla's willingness to experiment. They're not afraid to try new things, make mistakes, figure things out as they go along.
It's such a good reminder that we don't have to have all the answers right away. We can embrace the learning process and allow ourselves to be beginners.
Totally. And when setbacks happen, because let's face it, we can choose to see them as opportunities for growth rather than failures.
That's a great way to look at it.
It's all about shifting our perspective and finding the good in every situation.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, and what about the importance of community? Their story really highlights how much we can achieve when we have support from others.
For sure. Whether it's friends, family, or online communities, having a network of people who get you, who share your passions, it can make such a huge difference.
It's like having a built-in cheer squad, right?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. BarndoVilla wouldn't be where they are today without the support of their friends, family, and subscribers.
It really does take a village sometimes.
It does. And that support, it goes beyond just the practical stuff, too. It's also about encouragement, inspiration, and a sense of belonging.
Those things are so important. All right, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the biggest takeaway? What do we want our listeners to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. Embrace the chaos, find joy in the process, and don't be afraid to create your own unique path.
I love that. BarndoVilla is such a great example of what can happen when we combine passion, creativity, and a whole lot of resilience. And hey, who knows, maybe someday we'll be featuring your story on the deep dive.
That would be awesome. But until then, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep diving deep into the things that light you up.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.